The face of transportation is changing, and it's changing largely because the places that we live and work are changing as well. Cities are becoming more densely packed and harder to just drive a full-size car in. So why am I out here in the countryside talking about the city? Well, the answer is we had to come to Hillsboro, Oregon to check out this thing, the Electra Meccanica SOLO.
Today we're going to drive the Gen 1, which is prototype Solo EV three-wheel commuter car.
My guide for today's test drive is former race car driver and Indy 500 veteran Dominic Dobson. He's not in the racing circuit anymore, but he does have an almost encyclopedic knowledge of automotive history, including the history of the Solo.
This car is made by a company called Meccanica, which started out as Intermeccanica. They built Italian-bodied, American engine sports cars back in the 60s and 70s. And the owner of that company moved it to Vancouver, BC, and changed it to Electra Meccanica when it was purchased by Jerry Kroll, the founder of this company. And they wanted to build a small commuter EV that really had room for one person. That was the whole idea, thus the name Solo. And it makes perfect sense, since 85% of the people who commute drive alone in their cars. It made sense to them to only have room for one seat.
Now, this certainly isn't the first three-wheeled car that's ever been created. You've probably seen the Polaris Slingshot, the Elio commuter car, and maybe even one of those sexy-ass Vanderhall Roadsters. Clearly, emerging transportation startups seem convinced that three-wheeled cars are a good idea. But why the hell would anybody want a three-wheeled, one-person car?
It's lighter, it's cheaper, it's all you need for a small commuter car. Takes up less room, and it's just generally more efficient. One rear wheel drive with a belt, and it's got 17.1 kilowatt batteries down the side and an 82 horsepower motor in the back, so it's got plenty of power. The car only weighs about 1,600 pounds. And that knob to the right, you're good to go.
All right, thank you much.
Once you're in that car and you close the door, there's actually a tremendous amount of room in there. You don't feel tight at all. And when you're in it, it just feels normal. Of course, there's no shifting because it's electric, it's all one gear. So really, you just put it in forward and you go.
This is oh my God. It's got a little bit more get-up than I thought it would have. I think that's the thing, like it just doesn't weigh anything, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't have a ton of horsepower. It's just light as a feather, so as soon as you hit that gas pedal, it's just like instant response. Oh, and it sounds like a spaceship. Already, just the looks that I'm getting from people. It really does kind of feel like a go-kart in terms of just like how high you are off the ground. It's way lower than most cars that I've driven before. But it's really responsive and really nice. Definitely fun to drive. The steering is all really tight. It's just instantaneous. It feels every bit as stable as a normal car. The motion, the momentum feels a little bit different when you turn, but that's kind of to be expected with a three-wheel car.
Driving the car takes a little getting used to, because now instead of driving off to the left a little bit, you're sitting in the middle of the lane.
It's kind of trippy because you're sitting dead center of this vehicle, right? But you don't have a rear view mirror, yet somehow, I think just because it's like tapered toward the back, you can see everything behind you. Like I have complete visibility of everything going on behind me. Most importantly though, it's quick enough for both city and freeway driving. Oh yeah, wide open roads, here we go. 50, 57, 60. And that wasn't quite flooring it.
The car goes 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, which for everyday driving is just plenty.
All things considered, this little whip sits in the Goldilocks zone between a motorcycle and a full-size car. In addition to being small, light, and super maneuverable, it also has a fully enclosed cabin, air conditioning, and windshield wipers. There's even a trunk big enough to fit a suitcase or a load of groceries.
You have an armrest on either side, you have electric windows, electric mirrors, you've got all the features you'd find in a normal car.
It really does accelerate surprisingly quickly for how little horsepower it has. It's definitely faster than my 97 Geo Metro LSI. That really was a car that I owned.
So if you look at the future of urban transportation, I think something like the Solo has its place. It fits in with the scooters and the bicycles and, you know, the smaller vehicles that will be both autonomous, they will be EV, and I think it has a place in the future because it just takes up less room and it impacts the planet less. There's lots of places to charge it. It can charge at home, 110 volt, costs pennies to fill the tank, if you will. Goes 100 miles on a charge and it might cost $5 a max. And the retail price is $16,250, which is the price of a nice motorcycle.
It's definitely too early to say whether or not cars like this will truly make waves in the automotive industry. But compared to past takes on the three-wheel concept, the Solo seems to have hit a sweet spot between price, performance, and practicality that, quite frankly, most other manufacturers have failed to find. And for that reason, we're willing to bet that this isn't the last time that you'll hear the name Electra Meccanica. That's no fun. We killed a GoPro! It fell off! Ooh! Right on the lens. It's still filming though.